my legs look.
Well, the socks look great.
Thank you.
Hi everyone, and thanks for tuning into Power Hour, the first for 2018, which is very exciting. Even more exciting to have Nic Harry with me.
Thank you.
Which is not your full surname, but I'm going to stick with that because it's easier.
It's Haralambous.
Haralambous.
There you go.
Thank you for being my first
problem.
guest of
Pleasure.
the year. It's going to be a really exciting chat today. Unlike, I guess, a lot of our conversations last year where we really dug into entrepreneurs, how they got started, some of the challenges, and sharing it with you, which we'll absolutely touch on. I'm excited to have Nic because he recently published a blog about financial literacy, which was his goal for 2017. So we're going to touch on both, and I know a lot of you have been sending through questions around financial management and tools to use and thinking about cost versus revenue and things like that. So hopefully you'll get some valuable learnings. Putting him on the spot now.
No problem.
Hope you're taking notes. So yeah, we'll get into it.
Cool.
Thank you so much.
It's a pleasure.
So maybe to start with, do you want to show everyone your socks that you're wearing?
Desperately. So I don't wear matched socks anymore because if I can't, who can?
Yeah.
So yeah, these are my socks, and this is kind of what I do for a living now. We're a style company at Nic Harry, so it's nicharry.com. We focus on bamboo as our fiber of choice, socks, underwear, and t-shirts. And for the first time in ages, I'm actually wearing all of our products, which is kind of cool.
Amazing.
Bamboo socks, t-shirts, and underwear.
Are you going to show us the underwear?
I will if you'd like me to. Anything for a bit of PR, I don't mind. So yeah, and that's what we're focusing on this year is those three core items and stability. Okay. 2018 is year for stability.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I like that motto myself.
Yeah.
But you've started almost 10 businesses now.
Yes.
And current focus is Nic Harry Socks, which you started, if I'm right, quoting you, 5,000 Rand in your bedroom.
Yep.
Can you, I guess, talk just a little bit about your journey, how you got there, and successes and failures along the way?
Yeah. So the first thing I ever did in terms of understanding business and selling was in high school when I was 16. Don't worry, it's not going to be a long story.
And it's 17.
Yeah, no. So that was in school. They wanted us to sell a product, and in that semester, whoever sold the most and made the most money, pure turnover basis, would win.
Okay.
And I sold Greek worry beads to my classmates and made 1,000 Rand in turnover. The profit I can't even remember, it was so long ago, and I didn't win. A kid who had a rich dad got his dad to come to school every day with McDonald's in his car and sold the McDonald's at breaks.
Oh
and
my
that kid made a
gosh.
killing. But that was my first taste of, okay, you can buy something and sell it and make money. My family is really entrepreneurial. My dad is not formally educated after high school and built businesses and managed to send me and my sibling to private schools and university, and like that's admirable. And it's kind of a Greek cultural thing to build stuff.
Yeah.
And I avoided it like the plague. I studied journalism, and when I got to Rhodes, I started my first real business there, which was a band. And music is business, which I now realize, then I didn't. And through the years, I've started many other things, freelance networks, social networks around the same time as Facebook, and we just got hammered. And then my last business was a mobile internet company called MoTribe.
Okay.
And MoTribe we raised funding for, moved to Cape Town 8 or 9 years ago, and exited to Mixit. And at the end of that exit, it was quite a brutal exit. I didn't want to sell, my business partner did, and I didn't win that battle.
No.
And made some money, but in typical South African fashion, we didn't get a lot of praise for the exit. We got a lot of people pointing fingers at us and saying, oh, it was easy because you raised funding.
Yeah.
And if you've ever raised funding, you know that that's not true. It's the complete opposite. The more funding you raise, the more pressure you're under.
Particularly if you don't want to do it anyway.
Particularly if you don't want to sell. And, you know, the multiples go up, and the more money you raise, the more money you have to exit for, and profit becomes less important than growth. So exiting MoTribe was tough, and building that business was hard. So we got money at the end of that exit, and I decided that I wanted to build a business in as quick and as cheap a manner as possible.
Yeah.
And I chose 5,000 Rand for a very simple reason. If you save enough money every month over a period of 12 months, you can save 5 grand. So you save for a year, and at the end of that year, you have 5,000 Rand, and the next year you can start a business.
Perfect.
Not a full-time business, a little side hustle that you grow over a period of time.
Yeah.
And that's what Nic Socks at the time was. We spent 5,000 Rand on developing prototypes and marketing and putting the website up and a logo. So I started coding when I was 10 or 11. So I built the website myself.
Great.
Which is handy. Nowadays you can use Shopify or WordPress or any number of those. You don't need a developer. In fact, we're an e-commerce company without a CTO or developer.
Great.
We've never needed one. So we built the site in 6 weeks. The product got done in 6 weeks, and within 30 days we'd launched a sale with City Mob, who's now Superbalist.
Okay.
And our $5,000 had become 30 grand. And we made 30,000 rand in the first month and rolled that money back into the business and made more stock and slowly started to produce a business.
Yeah.
And after 2.5 years we raised some funding, and now here we are, 5 years in.
That's amazing. I think I noticed particularly in South Africa, a lot of people do think that they need a lot of funds to start a business, or step one is get funding and step two is then test your idea.
Yep.
Which to me is completely reversed from what it should be. But what did you spend your 5,000 on? The prototypes, and how would you suggest people think about breaking that down?
Absolutely. To jump back quickly at MoTribe, interestingly, we didn't think that way either. We built a prototype first for our little social network that we were launching, and it was a emo kids social network.
Amazing.
On your mobile phone called Emo Friends with a W and a Z at the end.
Oh,
Emo
gosh.
Friends. It was
That's
horrible,
gold.
but it flew. We got like 20,000 signups in the space of a month, and then we had traction, and then we had something to take to our investors and go, hey, give us some money.
There's real value.
Yeah, the business plan was secondary to the traction.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of entrepreneurs misunderstand that.
Yeah.
They think that you can't do something cool without funding. So again, this is what Nic Socks was trying to prove, is that you can take a little bit of money, a small idea, and build it into something big over time.
Yeah.
So we spent our first 5,000 rand on a logo, because I'm not a logo designer.
Yeah.
I know what I'm good at, and it's not that. So I got a friend to do the logo really cheaply. He helped me out. The web hosting, so I set up a hosting environment on WordPress and built the website, and prototyping the socks, and then the first batch of stock. So obviously you can't just buy stock because you don't know how much you're going to sell. So what we did was the factory made us a sample of each sock, not a pair, just one sock of each design. So I had to then Photoshop them to be a pair, list them on the website.
Oh, amazing.
We sold them through Superbalist and didn't have the stock.
Okay.
So then we had to rush back to the factory and with the 5,000 rand, make all of the stock and then ship it off.
I think that's perfect. And that's what Zappos as well in the US did.
Exactly
with
right.
their shoes.
Exactly right.
Yeah, absolutely. You don't have to invest in all the stock before you start.
Yeah.
Awesome. So I guess we're already roughly talking about finances, but this was your focus for most of 2017, or your number one, I guess, goal.
My number one personal goal.
Yeah. So tell me why it was, and I guess how you realized that you weren't financially literate enough.
I think I've always kind of known that I wasn't financially literate enough. The difficult thing is that we all think that if we make more money, we'll have more money. But what I started to see with my staff, specifically in the retail space, is whenever you give someone a raise or a promotion, the next month they're asking you for a loan again. And I just, it blows me away that that's the case. And the truth is, most people, and the stat in America is something ridiculous, like people who earn six-figure salaries, almost 80% of them live paycheck to paycheck.
Okay.
That's more than R1 million a year salary, and they're living paycheck to paycheck.
Yeah, exactly.
So the premise for me was, and I was kind of doing the same thing, earn more money, spend more money.
Yeah.
Earn more money, spend more money.
Absolutely.
And when do you break that cycle? So at the end of 2016, I decided that my potential to earn was great, but my actual savings was crap.
Yeah.
So I wanted to assess where my money was going. And no matter how much I earned through 2016, I kept going at the end of the month, where the fuck is my money? Like, what am I doing? The thing that I didn't do was stop and go, seriously, where's my money? Like, where is it? So I read a couple of books, like I say in the blog post. The first one is Rich Dad, Poor Dad, which is such a cheesy historic classic.
It is a classic, though.
And it's if you know much about finance, you're like, oh, it's very trivial. But if you don't know anything, the trivial matters. And the basic premise is use your money to make more money. Don't use your money on things that don't make you money. So what that led me to think about is, what do I really care about? Like, what are the things that I want to spend my money on? Someone who's better at this that I was listening to on Kevin Rose's podcast, he explained it really well in a 4-letter word, FIRE. It's financial independence and retire early. And that kind of made me think,
that sounds great.
what do I need to do? And the simple thing that we realized early on in 2017 was you need to spend less.
Yeah.
And in fact, this applies to business too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very often, startups will try and spend their way out of a problem. And that only works if your product is good, if your market is tested, if all the things you have in place are ready for the spend.
Yeah.
If you're just spending blindly, you're wasting your money.
Absolutely.
The key to survival, and Nic Harry's going through this in some degree, is to cut your expenses so that you can increase your runway.
Absolutely.
Sometimes you need to regroup. Like Paul Graham, he's the Y Combinator founder, he speaks a lot about this, is sometimes you have to build something small to build something big.
Yeah.
And that applies to your savings too.
And that relates back to the funding, because then you can organically grow rather
Exactly.
than needing to look externally and spending all of your time on that.
Exactly.
And it's a
And
full-time job.
100%. It's a full-time job, and we think, as people, as founders, as young entrepreneurs, we think that we don't have enough time.
Yeah.
But the truth is, you always have more time than you think.
That's definitely something that applies to me. I'm like, I have to do all of this
now. And the truth is, why?
Yeah.
Like, the older I get, the more I'm like, oh, I got another 30 years. 30 more years, but fuck, great, let's just slow down.
Yeah.
And at MoTribe, we learned this in Hyde 6 months because we thought our competitors are coming.
Yeah.
They're coming to eat our lunch. We've seen this gap that no one else is seeing.
Yeah.
They never came. They never came. In 3 years, they never came. No one touched our space. If we had slowed down, we would have owned the space more.
Yeah.
Instead of being erratic and hiring. And that goes back to your personal finances.
Yeah.
If you just look at this, how quickly can I earn my retirement?
Absolutely.
Like, that's what I'm starting to think, right? So what we did, my partner and I, because it is a joint thing, is used to say to me, just save 400 Rand a month. When you're 10, save it. Save your earnings.
Put into your super. I was like,
Yep. What do you mean? I'll earn more money.
yeah, exactly.
Not
I'll
going to
earn way
happen.
more then.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
But you also touch on financial advisors
Yep.
in your blog, and I also saw that you read Money Master the Game, which is Tony Robbins' book,
Yep.
all about financial advisors, kind of never beating the index.
Yep.
So, what is your view on that, and what have you done? What are you doing now instead?
So my view for the last 5 years has been, I don't have time for this. Let's give my money to a financial advisor.
Yeah.
I've got other things to do.
Yeah.
And that's because I was building businesses, and in the article I talk about that's where I think my wealth is going to come from. And I still believe that's true. But I am a smart enough human being to also manage my money.
Yeah.
And I think that financial advisors are for people who have no interest.
Yeah.
They don't care. I do care. I'm engaged with stocks and stock markets, with local and foreign, with new technology, with where my money is.
Absolutely.
And one of the things that really triggered me to look at where my money was going was I found out that the Alan Gray unit trust that I had invested in over time was invested in a company that I believe is extremely evil. They're called Net1.
Yeah.
They're managing the SASA grants very badly and stealing money from people.
Okay.
And Alan Gray they refused to sell their position. They put pressure on the company to change, but they're not changing.
Interesting.
And I decided that I don't want to actually put money into a company that wants to support bad business practice.
Yeah.
And then I thought, hold on, I need to move this. And I approached my financial advisor, and he suggested against it. And I said to him, I don't give a fuck what you think. This is my money.
Yeah.
And at that point, I just thought, I can do this better.
And I did, you need to invest in something you believe in and that aligns with your values.
Exactly. And if you're not doing that, and that's what Warren Buffett has always said, invest in what you know and what you believe in.
Yeah.
So he drinks Coke, so he invested in Coke. That's it. He drinks a Coke every day. When he drank Coke at some point in it, the recipe changed. He was like, well, what's going on? He contacted them and had to engage with them about why things were changing.
Wow, interesting.
That's how the model should be.
Exactly.
So I decided that if I was so set on my own businesses creating my wealth, why should my money not make it work for me? And that's where Rich Dad Poor Dad comes in. Rich Dad Poor Dad speaks about rich people using their money to create investments that make them more money.
Yeah.
Whereas my money was going into a unit trust that wasn't making me more money.
Yeah.
I wanted to get to
cocktails.
grips. Exactly. I wanted to get to grips with stuff. So I kind of just chucked my financial advisor. We analyzed, myself and my partner, all of our different investments and the growth over time and the interest over time with this financial advisor, and we worked out that the growth that he had made off of us was more than our investments had made.
Wow.
And at that point we contacted him and said, please explain this, and he couldn't, and we said, cool, we're out, give us our money back.
I guess that's an analysis that a lot of people don't do, and that's why it was so great that this was your goal. And the other thing that you did was analyze your daily spend and monthly spend and look at everything for the past year, or I don't know how long. What was that process like, and were you I felt quite anxious when I read that you did that. I was like, oh no, I don't want to know.
Yeah.
So how did you overcome that?
My partner is really good at saving, and it's her thing. She's frugal, and it's possibly her Welsh upbringing. Her dad has always been like, no, every cent counts. That old saying, cents make rands.
Yeah.
Like, that's her view of the world. So she was like, don't worry, I got this. So she like downloaded everything for me into a spreadsheet, and she sent it to me and said, highlight all the things that you don't know, like where the money went.
Yeah.
And so we went through 6 months of my spending, and month by month. And as I say in the article, one of the most shocking things were I spent $2,000 a month on coffee.
And you bought 2 coffees
today.
in the 10 minutes before our
These are the only 2 I've had this week. So like I planned that, right? But things like eating lunch. If you eat leftovers from the night before, you're saving 50 to 60 rand a day.
Yeah.
That's 300 rand a week. Like, that's a lot of money when you add all those little things up.
Absolutely.
So how I got over that anxiety of checking it was the potential of how much money I might have to invest.
Yeah.
So then I was like, oh, where can I save money? And now it's become like a little goal, a game. Yeah. And I was actually saying to Jen the other day that I feel like we're leveling up in this video game of life. Like, awesome. I've now acquired the financial skills, and I can use those next year to go to gym. Yeah. So this year I've started going to gym because I've stopped drinking coffee.
Okay.
Think about that, right? I can either have 50 coffees a week, or I can go to gym. I chose gym. So I stopped the coffee and put the money into a set. And that's how this balances. Yeah. Most of us think that, I'll just earn an extra $2,000 next month, but you won't. Yeah. You're going to get into credit card debt next month, and then you don't pay that off. And some of them are 20% interest every month, and now you're deep in it.
And then you're stressed, and then you can't sleep, and then you need more coffee. It's a vicious cycle.
It is. It really is such a brutal cycle that we're tricked into getting into. That all my friends go and have coffee meetings at class. Who gives a shit? Yeah. Go have it walking outside.
Have it at Rise, it's free.
Go to have it at Rise, it's free, or have it somewhere like your house where you can offer them a glass of water or something that isn't going to cost you 50 rand a meeting. Yeah. Like, that shit counts. Yeah. The Pursuit of Happiness, the movie, that there's a great scene where he gives his last $20 to the guy who might give him a job so that he can go and get a cab, and it's a calculated risk, but the coffee is not. The coffee is a waste. No, so we analyze everything and then just cut whatever needed to be cut.
That's impressive. So in a lot of blogs, podcasts, content around money, it's all about the mindset and I guess self-limiting beliefs that you or people generally have when they think about their money and finances.
Yes.
What are some of the common ones you've seen or that you discovered that you held yourself?
One of the main one for me was that I don't need savings, I can earn my way to wealth. Yeah. I don't need to save my way to wealth. Yeah. And that's crazy. I think it's a very entrepreneurial view of the world. Is the only way I'm going to get rich is to build a business. Yeah. And that's true. But if you don't get rich, you still need retirement money. Yeah, exactly. And I think that really, when it's so difficult because in my 20s, I didn't care. Yeah. When I hit 30, I was like, I'm getting older now. Like, this might be funny. So that helped me reassess things. Was definitely an age thing, which is unfortunate that in your 20s you don't think that way, because in your 20s is when it matters. Yeah. The compound interest really kicks in from 20 to 30. Yeah. You start at 30, you've got a 10-year gap missing. So that was a really big one for me. The others were that you need a lot of money to start saving. You don't. You can save 20 rand a month. Yeah. And that applies to investing. You think that you can invest in a stock only if you've got 10,000 rand. Yeah. You can start with 20 rand. You can buy a share. Find something that you can buy a fraction of something, and it all adds up. Absolutely. So just start, because it's more about the habit of investing than what you're investing in. Absolutely. And I think that really helped me rethink things. Yeah. And
if you have kids through in their 20s, instill it in them now. Or try. I know my parents tried and I didn't listen.
100%. And so instead of me trying to convince my nephew, who's now 5, when he was born, I put a trust together for him, and I've been investing a couple of $100 rand a month, and worked out that with compound interest and the investment I've got, he's going to have millions when he turns 25.
That is amazing.
And 20 years though, that's what 20 years of investing will do, because the interest compounds over time. Yeah. It's a really simple equation. I mean, if you Google compound interest calculator, you can calculate if you save this much a month on this much interest, over 20 years you'll have this much money. Awesome. That helps you actually visualize what you need to retire and what you need to do to get there.
Yeah, I think I've been through that exercise, which is like, how much do you need when you're 60, ideally, or 65, and then work it back. And if you start now, you need this much, and if you start in 5 years, I mean, the difference is huge. Yeah, it's crazy.
It really is. On that point of figuring out how much you need, This podcast I was listening to with Kevin Rose, the guy he was talking to said, on average, you're able to draw out 4% of your capital without eating into your capital, it's your savings.
Okay.
So if you've got R1 million, you can draw out 40,000.
Yeah.
Okay. That means that to retire, you need closer to 20 or 30 million to be able to draw a salary of 50 to 60 a month when you're 60 or 70.
You still might live 30 years.
You might, exactly, and the more technology is developing, the more we're living. So it's very likely that we'll live to 100 or close to, and the kids being born today will live to 110 and 20. But 65 is not a retirement age anymore. Exactly. So those numbers start to really matter, that if you think that to retire, you need 10 million minimum. That means that you need to start saving $1 million a year for the next 10 years, or 100,000 a year for the next 100 years.
Yeah, that's a lot.
That's a lot. Like,
exactly.
You really got to start breaking those numbers out, and they're overwhelming and scary. But actually, when you figure out compound interest and investments and diversified portfolios, it's not so bad.
How simple.
Yeah.
We'll share the link to the calculator to everyone that's watching and maybe feeling a bit overwhelmed. I'm sure when you see it and plug your numbers in, it will make a lot.
It's not that bad.
But relating it back to, I guess, being an entrepreneur in business, one of the self-limiting beliefs that I often hear from either entrepreneurs or freelancers, I guess they're also entrepreneurs, is that
we can have a debate about that, whether freelancers are entrepreneurs. But
okay, maybe we'll do that.
We'll do that next. Yeah.
Is that people cut their prices before they put it into the market with this belief that people won't pay as much as they want to ask for their product or service, and then they devalue their brand and in my opinion, end up worse off. Is that something that you've come across or struggled with yourself, or have something to share on?
Absolutely, all the time. I think it's a constant battle for every business that I've ever built and every business I've ever been involved in. Most directly for me, I'm a strategic consultant, I'm a speaker, and I'm negotiating my prices all the time with big companies or events. And I think it's not a very clean and dry thing. It's not binary. I think it lives in the grey area of the world. For Nic Harry, we started off premium. We were always going to be premium. For the first 3 years of the business, we never went on sale. We never had a sale because at the time, retailers like Marc Jacobs were going on sale constantly and degrading their brand, and then people were just waiting for the sale.
Absolutely.
They weren't buying, and you could see it.
That's what Rebound did too.
That's what, exactly. So then my reaction was to go, never, you can't do sales.
Yeah.
But then you start to realize that target markets wants your sale, like Black Friday. So we make a killing on Black Friday. If we didn't actually do the sale at that point, we'd probably lose money.
Yeah.
So then you start going, okay, I'll just do one.
Yeah.
And then two, and then three, and then four. And then you lower your brand perception.
Absolutely.
But if you're targeting people who are looking for sales, then you have to have sales.
Yeah.
So it's the gray area is, who's your target market? What do they want to pay? What is your product worth? And then you build your equation.
Yeah.
The best advice I received and I've given is you can never raise your price. You can always drop it.
Absolutely.
So start high. And the truth is, your confidence is what comes across, thinking of freelancers now. If you're going in and saying you can build a website for $5,000, well, you get what you pay for.
Yeah.
If you're going in and saying, you know what, it's going to cost you 100, then if the client says no, they're not your right clients.
Exactly.
Move on.
Yeah.
And a lot of entrepreneurs struggle with the sales process, not the actual selling. So the sales process is, in a very traditional sense, how thick is your pipeline?
Yeah.
How many people have you spoken to every day? Yeah. If you've spoken to 50 people a day and all of them say you're too expensive and you've done that for 6 months, then you're too expensive.
Yeah.
If you've spoken to 3 people and 3 of them said, maybe you're a bit expensive, you just haven't spoken to enough people.
Also, if you've only spoken to them once, everyone says that. That's the first obstacle you always have to
default,
overcome. Exactly.
So you can't improve your sales cycle,
Yeah.
improve your pipeline, contact more people. Just because you're out there, if you build it, they won't come. You have to tell them to come. So this is a problem I experience all the time. The more people hit your website, the more people you phone, the more sales you'll make. It's a number, it's stats. Like 10% will convert eventually. Yeah.
But this also relates to another blog of yours that I read. Obviously did a lot of pre-stalking before this chat, which was about you can't be everything to everyone.
Yep.
You need to pick your niche and focus there. Like you can't be premium and the cheapest option.
Yep.
You need to pick your exact customer, local, regional, whatever.
Yeah.
Can you just talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so when we started Nic Socks, I had done a lot of consulting for big and small brands, top tier and entry level, so like Pep clothing, where you can go and get 100 socks for $50.
Yeah.
And then all the way up to Louis Vuitton, who sells an 800 rand sock that's just black cotton.
One sock.
One pair. One pair for $800. That's just a cotton sock. It's just black, but it's Louis Vuitton, right? So cool. or Versace, one of those douchey brands. So we decided that we needed to fit in that scale, but if you're in the middle, you're dead. That's the problem.
Yeah.
So if you're at the bottom and you're competing with Pep, you need to do what they do, cheaper, and at scale.
Yeah.
So they can produce 1 million socks a month, let's say. If you can produce 2 million and get your volumes and economies of scale down, cool.
Yeah.
If you want to be like Versace, you need the 50 years that they've had.
Yeah.
So how do you do that? If you want to be in the middle, which is where Mr. Price is, let's say, and you want to sell a 50 rand sock, why would someone not just go to Mr. Price?
Yeah, exactly.
And that then leads you into this very complicated place. So we decided to be upper premium.
Yeah.
So we were entry level premium. So it's if you can't afford Louis Vuitton, but you don't want to shop at Mr. Price.
Yeah.
And we identified our market, and really simply, it was me.
Yeah.
I was like, who should buy my
Which is
stuff?
perfect.
I should buy my stuff. So I'm the guy, and
Yeah.
I'm the target market.
Yeah.
And if Nic will buy it, our motto internally is if Nic will wear it, we can sell it.
Perfect. Well, and that's also the easiest way for entrepreneurs.
Exactly.
If you're building something that you want yourself, then the way you would naturally write your copy is what will resonate, and it just makes things so much
Authenticity.
easier.
I'm actually listening to a podcast now of how Oprah got started.
Oh, wow.
And in her very first show, she spoke about her vision. And 15 years later, she achieved that vision.
Oh,
But she
amazing.
was true to herself the whole time. And she kept saying, people kept asking her, what is your audience going to think about this? And she said, I don't care. I like it.
Exactly.
It's my show. And if I like it, everyone else will like it. And when they didn't, they reacted. And that's cool. Then they shifted.
Yeah.
But you have to build what you like.
Absolutely.
There are entrepreneurs who will go and build stuff just because there's a gap.
Yeah.
And that's cool. Their passion is filling gaps.
Yeah.
It's not building that
But how
product.
long will it last? Because that gap won't always be there.
Exactly. And then they shift or they sell or they flip. And, the money only gets you so far.
Yeah.
If you're going to work 20 hours a day on something, you better love it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So, back to something you were talking about earlier, which was, I guess, the pursuit of material and showy
Yeah.
things, and the shift towards experiences. It's interesting coming from someone who's now running your current business,
Yep.
but the way that you sell is very experiential,
Yep.
even though you're selling a material good.
Yep.
So how do you drive that experience?
It's a good question.
This wasn't on the list. I'm
No,
sorry.
that's fine. No, it's a really great question. So we stole something from Zappos that I think every company should steal, and I've shouted at F&B just this morning about their crappy customer service. But Zappos believes that they are a customer service company that happens to sell shoes.
Yeah.
We believe we're a customer service company that happens to sell socks and t-shirts and stuff. And in South Africa, it's really easy to have a USP, and it's called customer service.
Yeah.
And that's how we give the experience. The first point is
Okay.
we give you a better customer experience than any other company out there.
Yeah.
Just this morning, 6:30, someone was on my website looking for a t-shirt. We didn't have sizes. I got the notification on my phone, chatted to them, and they're in our store today buying.
Amazing.
That sort of service isn't expected.
Yeah.
So that's an experience right there. Then we started to add in things like our packaging is premium, and you unwrap every single thing that we send you, and it's like a gift. And the idea in the beginning was we wanted to give you the gift of socks, and we wanted to make socks cool again.
Yeah.
And that kind of rolls into everything else. So in our stores, we have a branded scent. You walk in and you smell what our brand feels like.
Oh, awesome.
That same scent goes into our packaging. So when you open it up, you smell, and then you walk into the store and you smell the same
Nostalgia.
thing. And the nostalgia kicks in. We have very specific music we play in our stores. So I like to say that premium retail, luxury retail,
Yeah.
is all 5 senses. E-commerce only gives you 1.
Okay.
So it's visual. What we want to do in our packaging and in our stores is hit you with all 5.
Amazing.
The way that our staff talk to you, the way that they dress.
Where they touch you.
Hopefully they don't. But yeah, so our staff don't have to wear shoes. They can wear socks in the store
Awesome.
without shoes. They say certain things that trigger certain emotions, and we're very deep into that sort of experience when you walk into our world. Because the truth is, I don't think that in 10 years people are going to want to just buy products. They're going to
Yeah.
want to know the brand. They're going to want to know where your product comes from. If the
Absolutely.
bamboo we use, is it environmentally friendly and sustainably grown? And ours is. And we tell people that, and it's on our packaging. Those things matter. I don't think
Yeah.
people will be buying just for the sake of money in the next 20 or 30 years.
I think so too. And like you guys, from looking through your social media and everything, you have a lot of brand advocates, and it's really hard to build that if there's no substance
Yeah.
behind it. So I think the 5 senses approach is awesome.
Exactly, and I do think that there are ways to trick people and hack those things, which are inauthentic,
Yeah.
and over time you get exposed.
Yeah, absolutely. So Nic Harry is obviously going incredibly, incredibly well.
Up and down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But in a 2013 TEDx talk that you did in Cape Town, you started with, I'm an imposter.
Yep.
And the imposter syndrome is something that fascinates me. And I think, myself at least, it's something that kind of comes and goes, on the emotional roller coaster of entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
So do you still feel like an imposter?
Yeah, every day.
Yeah.
Every day. I mean, I've yet to meet anyone who says they don't feel that way, and if they do, they're lying. I call them out. You're absolutely lying, because if Richard Branson and Elon Musk feel like imposters, then how do you not? It must be some level of megalomania if you don't believe that you don't belong where you are, or some supreme confidence in your abilities. I don't know. I've got friends who are professional racing drivers who are like, what the fuck am I doing in this car? Like, it's real.
That's scary,
What I like to shift the statement, and you can Google, they both exist. I don't want to call it imposter syndrome, because I don't believe that the people who acknowledge that it exists suffer from it. I believe it pushes them forward. So I call it, and it's a very common name, imposter phenomenon.
Okay.
So the phenomenon means that you ignore external validation that you do belong where you are. And then because you're ignoring it, it pushes you to research more and be better and improve. So you constantly feel like you're not good enough, but you're constantly improving as you go. So I do also battle with those ups and downs all the time, writing a book, writing a blog post, doing a podcast. I'm like, who's going to want to listen to this? And then you put it out there and you're like, oh, okay, then people want to listen to it. And then you forget and you're like, oh, no. So every day, and I think that talk was actually titled The Forefront of Incompetence. And I think that that's the key here, is that if you are able to learn at a quick enough rate, it doesn't matter if you're incompetent. It means that you can be incompetent, learn what you don't know, and then put it together. There you go. So as long as you're aware of it, you know how to control it and move on.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I really like that imposter phenomenon.
Yeah.
I need to learn how to say it first,
the words.
But
It's a killer.
So what is next for you? This is where you can pitch your book if you're ready for
no,
that.
No, I'm not ready for that.
Okay.
So there's lots of stuff. This year I'm trying to focus a lot on solidifying what we have. So last year was a really tough year for retail. In America alone, nearly 10,000 retail outlets closed in 2017.
Offline or online or both?
A bit of both, but mostly offline.
Okay.
There are something like 120 malls that closed in America.
Wow.
And my prediction is that that's coming to South Africa. We are the sixth most malled country in the world. So we are this country with the most malls. It's insane. And we don't know. We haven't seen yet that the apocalypse is coming our way. We are overshopped. We don't have the spend, the disposable income. So at Nic Harry, we've closed 2 stores in 2017 to consolidate.
Great.
Because we need to be profitable to survive the oncoming onslaught. And I don't think enough retailers are thinking that way. So for us, it's about consolidation and doing what we do and doing it better. And just improving on and on and on. On a personal level, I'm going to be writing more long-form articles, doing a bit more deeper research into what I write about, and pushing my podcast.
Amazing. And so 2018 is the year of being health literate.
Yes, health literate. I think it's something that entrepreneurs neglect massively. Mental health, physical health, sleep, what you eat, when you eat, all the research is there, and it's constantly evolving, and we just don't do it. We think business first, life second, health third, and actually it should be the other way around. Health should be your number one priority. You should get fit, because when you're fit, you focus more. When you focus more, you sleep better. When you sleep better, you work better. It's this trickle on. And once I got to grips with my financial literacy, I was like, cool, that's done, what's next? And the next level in this game of life was my health. So I'm trying intermittent fasting at the moment. I'm doing a 16-hour fast every day, which basically just means skip breakfast. Just skip breakfast. Do the research on intermittent fasting.
Or sleep in.
Yeah, or sleep in. I can't.
No.
8 hours a day. My GP told me last year, I'm not going to give you flu medicine, you need to sleep.
Oh, really?
I was like, what do you mean? He said, research now, the most recent research, the longer you sleep, the longer you live.
Wow.
That's it. That's the solution. Sleep longer and live longer, because your body recuperates when you sleep. So if you think that working till 3 a.m. is a good thing and you're an entrepreneur, you're wrong. You're not doing your best work at 3 a.m. Go to sleep.
Unless you sleep at
unless you're sleeping throughout the day, which interestingly is how Matt Mullenweg built WordPress. He worked on 45-minute naps. So he would be awake and then sleep for 45 minutes and be awake and sleep for 45 minutes, and that's how and it worked for him. There's interesting research around how some people need just 45-minute gaps of sleep, and that's how he built it. It could have been 20 minutes or something. So I'm doing intermittent fasting. I'm trying to cut out processed food, processed sugars,
Great.
red meats, those sorts of things.
Yeah.
A little punt on the water in South Africa and Cape Town. Everyone's complaining about the water situation. The really simple answer, the most simple answer, stop eating meat.
Yeah.
If you stop eating meat, you save a lot of water. If we were all vegetarian, there'd be a lot more water in the world.
Yeah.
So that's my little punt for that.
Okay,
My partner's
that's
vegan. So I'm trying to cut out red meats and just generally be healthier to produce a better work environment for myself.
Absolutely. I think, if your mind isn't in it, then that ruins everything.
Exactly.
Nothing follows.
Exactly.
So I will definitely be following you very closely.
Cool. Thanks.
Thank you so much for joining me.
It's an absolute pleasure.
Coming to me at Rise and Rise for hosting us.
Yep.
And thanks to everyone for tuning in. I hope you've taken away as much from Nic's insights and learnings and journey so far as I have. And tune in next week. I'll let you know who's going to be our guest on Monday. Cool.